You're listening to a community story from Be My Eyes.
Hi, I'm Tatum, and I have a severe vision impairment.
I'm Anna, and I'm completely sighted.
I'm a Christian studies major. Eventually, I want to be a pastor and do ministry within a church focusing on people with disabilities.
I'm studying social work, and so once I graduate, I hope to work in the field and, like Tatum, maybe work with people with disabilities or work with teens with mental illnesses. We met about 4 years ago when I was a freshman in high school and Tatum was a junior. I was very, very shy going in high school, and so I went in not knowing anybody. Tatum and I had a couple classes in common, and so in one of them she just came up and introduced herself to me and invited me to sit with her friends at lunch. And I think it's just really cool because that group specifically, we call ourselves the Island of the Misfit Toys because we really just have this focus on making sure that everyone has a place and that everyone is included.
And the Island of the Misfit Toys has been such a huge blessing for me as well. It has just been such a huge joy of my life to get to be part of that and to get to see the ways that all of these connections that we've made have impacted so many lives and have impacted my life in so many ways. And being friends with Anna has been one of the biggest blessings that's come out of the Misfit group. It was so fun getting to welcome her into our group because I automatically saw just how welcoming and inclusive she was to everyone else. And that was absolutely amazing to me because whether it's my vision stuff or somebody else who is looking for a place to sit at lunch or any other disability related thing, it's amazing to see the way that Anna has just welcomed so many people into our group and then specifically focused and fought for inclusion in a lot of the situations that we're in. We also go to the same church, and it's been incredible to watch her help fight for inclusion and accommodations and things for a lot of the students with disabilities in our youth group.
Yeah, and I initially didn't have that same passion for disability, for inclusion and accessibility, and that was something that Tatum just has this natural eye for.
There's a lot of things in my life that happen because of my vision, so people will make comments that are either outrightly mean or just not focused in the right areas, or questions that come from a place of not knowing but can come off as really upsetting and really hard to handle. There's a lot of bigger comments that people like Anna really come around and support me in, and if somebody is questioning if I really am blind, or if somebody asks something what's wrong with me, or says something that's just really hard to hear, people like that are incredibly helpful in dealing with that. As a person who's sighted or a person who does not have a disability, it is hard to recognize those little things, and that's one of the areas that I think it's been really cool to see Anna and other friends come a long way in, but also is still hard to know that no one will fully get that, and that's definitely, I think, a challenge in a lot of friendships of mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I definitely, have personally grown a lot from that, and a lot from, becoming more aware of those comments that are really not okay for people to make. It's always important to keep in mind that I don't always understand the effect that those comments can have, but then also keeping in mind that there's other perspectives too and balancing that out.
Yeah, and I think it's incredibly helpful to have friends with a wide variety of abilities, because a lot of times when somebody makes some comment that I think could be about my vision, or if something happens and I don't get a job or I don't get included in a group and I automatically assume, oh, they don't want me because of my vision, I think it's really important to have the people in my life who can, like Anna, who can gently correct me and be no, that could be it, or it could just be something that happens in to everyone else. Even though I don't necessarily like to hear it at the time, I think it's really important to kind of have those friendships to balance out, and at the same time have them balance the opposite way as well. And I think having a disability myself and having other friends with disabilities, like, I've noticed a lot more about how those comments and those things do come across as really problematic. And so I think it is a balance in being able to recognize that they are problematic, but at the same time not to get too worked up about them. And I think that's a really unique part of my friendship with Anna, is that we both understand parts of both sides really well, and that's really really special, and I really like that.
For sure. Yeah, and I think it's cool to get that extra perspective, you know, because a lot of people, and maybe a lot of sighted volunteers who are using Be My Eyes, don't necessarily have someone in their life who's blind. And, you know, I didn't before Tatum, and so it's been really cool to get that extra perspective and that different worldview, because there's so many, you know, things that I've learned that I didn't know before. But I think, honestly, one of the biggest things is something that's so simple, and you don't even have to specifically know a blind person to do it or to know it, is that her, you know, her blindness is a part of her. It's not all of her, but it's a part of her. And I feel like a lot of times people will either, you know, that's all they'll see, or, you know, they'll completely look past it. It's something that I see very much how it, you know, has shaped the person that she is, but it's also not the only part about it. And that's true of anything in everyone's, you know, in everyone's life, and that's true about everyone with a disability or without a disability, is that we all have these many parts of us that make us who we are. And you can't look past any of them, but you also can't let any one of them define the person that you're talking to.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how having definitely the majority of my friends be sighted and the majority of my friends not have a visible disability, I think that is an interesting situation, just because there's so many situations where, like, I know that it is a part of me. And, like, I fully embrace the fact that I'm visually impaired and it's part of who I am, and I wouldn't necessarily want to change that. And it's hard because the pain does hurt, and, like, I would maybe want to, like, get rid of the pain, but the fact that I am visually impaired is not inherently a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people focus on it as this really negative uphill battle of my life. I don't think that I would have met Anna or a lot of my other friends without it. I don't think I would have had nearly as strong of a faith or gone into the career that I was going into without it. And it has just become such a huge blessing in my life to have this community and to have these people and to understand what it's like to feel marginalized and isolated because of a disability, but then also be able to stand up for that. One of the things that I'm trying to do right now that is really important to me is being a voice for people that society is not listening to because of disability. I wrote a book, and it's going to be called Imperfections. The book is filled with a lot of, like, real truths about disability and about what it's like to have a disability from my own experience and from people that I know. And then at the same time, it is a very adventure-filled story and dystopian, futuristic story. And so it would be interesting for somebody who isn't into disability circles at all and just is looking for an interesting book to read. I think that will be a really cool way for me to get to speak about my experience, but also get to share a fictional story with the world of, like, how important it is for us to fight for the rights of people with disabilities and how right now we're so behind in that.
A lot of really cool things, you know, have come out of this. Like, you have this book, and then Be My Eyes too, which is just such a, you know, cool thing that I wouldn't have learned about if not for Tatum.
A lot of times there would be different articles or books or things that I didn't have audio recording or braille of, and sometimes it's possible to have friends read them to me or things like that, but Be My Eyes gives me an entire community of people who are willing to help read like a paragraph or two or even a couple pages to me. And that has been such a huge freeing thing for me. And like I cannot even say enough how much more independence that's given me in college to say, I have this piece of homework that I don't have an accommodation made for, and feeling like I can just pull out my phone and make that call was such a blessing to me and has really just made my time at college so much more freeing and so much more in my control, and that's been an absolute blessing. And I think I was so excited about that and started sharing it with a bunch of my friends and a bunch of my family. And so I told Anna about it, and she just jumped on the chance to get to do some of the stuff that she loves doing. And it's been really a special thing for our friendship too, to get to like share the different experiences that we've had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really cool because I didn't start getting calls until a couple months after I signed up, but then I started getting them every other month or so, and you know, every time I get a call, I'll like text or call her immediately because I'm just so excited about it. And it's really cool because at first I was getting a couple calls that were just, you know, with short, small tasks, but the call that I got most recently was helping a woman pick out a suit for a church event, and you know, I really love style, so it was cool to make that little connection with her.
And I think one of probably my favorite experiences with Be My Eyes was that beginning of my sophomore year, I guess, I found a book that was written by multiple of my professors. So I went ahead and ordered it on Amazon and was looking through it, but I knew that I wasn't going to be able to read it. It was really special to me because there were 3 chapters written by professors that I absolutely love, and I got to call probably 10 or 15 different volunteers on Be My Eyes and have them each read just a page or two, so it only took a couple minutes of their time. But putting it all together and getting to read these couple chapters by my professors and getting to do something that I had wanted to do, and like knowing that I could do it just because of this app made a huge difference to me. And knowing that I could just grab my phone and make a call and have these people help me do something that I just really want to do was one of the most exciting and freeing experiences that I've had with accessibility in general. It was just such a special moment for me to get to read these chapters, even though it was like such a little thing to so many other people.
Thank you for listening to this community story from Be My Eyes. You can share your story too. Send it to mystory@bemyeyes.com. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, download our app, or visit bemyeyes.com/community-stories for more.